Hello everyone, my name is Matt and welcome back to another video. In today's video, I have a run through of a two-part lesson. This lesson is called Nutrients and Food Groups, and it's designed for grade 5 and grade 6. And I just think it's a really great lesson. I've always wanted to teach this to my students, and I just think it's really it's interesting for them. It's about food. It's about things that they're interested in. Everyone likes to eat, and they can learn all these different nutrients, which many students in grade 5 and 6, they don't know how to say them in English. So it's a really great lesson, and I'm just really excited to share it with everyone. So I really hope you guys enjoy this. After the run through, if you want to download this lesson, don't forget there's going to be links in the video description below. And I also have a Shopify store now, so you can go to Shopify and into my Shopify store, and you can find all of my PowerPoints there, and you can actually build your own bundles. It should be much more convenient than purchasing lessons from me in the past, where you had to email me and all that. So you can still do that. You can still purchase them through the little links at the bottom, which will take you directly to an end of sale, or you can go to Shopify and search through all of my PowerPoints and build your own bundle. And as always, you can also go to Taobao and you can buy them there. So I really hope you guys enjoy this. If you do, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to this channel if you're not already. And yeah, let's get right into the walkthrough. Run through, walkthrough, it's kind of a mixture of both. So let's go. Okay, let's have a look at this PowerPoint. So as with all my PowerPoints in the beginning, I have my rules and everything like that. And then we jump into the lesson. So as with all my PowerPoints, they are fully editable. So if you're not teaching in China and you want to take the Chinese out of there, it's real easy. It'll just be like a PowerPoint that you have, like you created on your own. You can do whatever you like to it. Okay, it's just like kind of a good template. It's easier to build on something which is already there than it is to start from scratch. So in this lesson, we're talking about nutrients. So first I'd show them the first language in their first language, and then they can raise their hand and tell me what it is, and then we can read together. If there's any new words, they should write them in their notebook. I think with grade 5 and 6, healthy might not be a new word, but substance and nutrients are, so they should write in their notebook, and then you can read this together or have a volunteer read it. Okay, that's basically how I do it with my class. I'll show them in their first language, and then they tell me what it is in English, and they write in their notebook. And I'll either, well, for something like this, I'll ask them, nutrients are important for our bones. Not ask them. I'll read it to them, and other ones I'll ask them. So if it's a question, if it pops up with a question, I'll present it to them, and they can raise their hands. Okay, so it's not going to be the same on every slide. It's not going to be done the same way, but basic principle, show it in their first language, see if they know it, they can raise their hand. You can have a volunteer read it. If there's a question, you can present the question to the class, have them raise their hand. You can have them discuss it together with their desk mate. In large classes, it could go badly. It depends. It could get really loud. It's harder to monitor them, but you can try. Like ask your desk mate the question, and then tell me what they said, and then if they understand that you're definitely going to randomly ask them to give you, to tell you what their desk mate said, they might do it more seriously. But not all of them are going to be at that level where they understand everything and how to express it. So it's better to model it with better students, higher level students, and then you can ask ask some other students, afterwards. So it really depends, but I get a lot of comments like, why don't you do more group work or desk work, with desk mates and stuff, have them ask each other. And I do it. It's just, it gets loud. It gets really loud. So I won't do it in every class. And you have to learn how to monitor that, and not all of my classes have the same behavior. Some are really good and I know I can ask them to do that, and some are not, and they'll be louder and they're not going to be as compliant and do what I ask. So they'll just be talking about whatever they want to talk about. There's 50 kids in the class. Okay, so just keep that in mind when you're teaching large classes. You can try to do stuff like that, but it's a skill to make it work and to have good classroom management in place so it does work. All right, so nutrient groups. This is what the lesson's about. This part 1 lesson is about nutrient groups. So I'll tell them there are 7 different nutrient groups which we get nutrition from, and then we'll go through them and learn each one. Okay, so here, show them in their first language. They raise their hand and tell you what it is. Probably they don't know it, I think, in grade 5 and 6. And so they can write it down, and you can tell them protein is good for our muscles and bones, and they can write this in their notebook too. They can write protein, muscles and bones is good for muscles and bones. They can take notes. You'll see that some kids are really good at taking notes, so you can show them on the board how to take the note correctly. How to take notes correctly. And if someone's taking really good notes, you can show the class like, oh wow, this is really good. And some kids like color code stuff and everything like that. So they're really, really good note takers. Some just scribble in their notebook and don't care. So you can use the ones who are really good at taking notes to like as a model. Okay. And then there's going to be a pop quiz. So what is vitamin A good for? This is just kind of testing, see if they know, so you can do it as you can have them guess. You can call on students from each team and have them guess, or you can poll the class and see what they think. It's eye health. Okay. So you can tell them that vitamin A is important for our eye health. Okay. Another pop quiz here. What is vitamin C good for? And a lot of them might know this, but they might not know the English for it. So it's immune system. It's a great word for them to learn. You can write in their notebook. And yeah, you can teach them. Yeah, like this is a little higher level, I guess, for grade 5. But a lot of them, they'll be really interested in it, and they'll know stuff about it in their first language and maybe want to share it with you. So it's always fun to give them these like higher level words that maybe high school students don't even know. Okay, and just they can learn something a little bit harder, and they can show off a little bit when they go to other classes. Okay, so same principle, show it in their first language, have them write it down, show it in their first language, see if they know, have them write it down, read it together, show them everything here. I like to make it very visual, as you can see. And yeah, they should write these words down in their notebook too. I think teeth, they know, bones maybe, muscles and brain, maybe not all of them know. All right, same thing here, calcium. Calcium is an important mineral that is good for our teeth and bones. Okay, so yeah, and then carbohydrates. This is a hard one, so I tell them they can say carbs, which many native speakers just say carbs instead of carbohydrates, but I think they should have them both in their notebook. And then you can show them word provide, and yeah, energy, and then fats. Okay, so fats help our bodies absorb many different vitamins. So many people think fats are bad, but the truth is we need some fats. So it's just you want them in a certain amount, not too much. And water, of course. Water is very important because it keeps our bodies working properly, and properly they should write in their notebook as well. Okay, and let's say them again. Okay, so I will show them and then have the kids say them together. You can do it by group. You can have kids volunteer to say them. You have your drilling method. You can use many different methods for this, but the key is these are the main words for this lesson. There's all these other words, these side words that some of them are kind of hard, but this is the basic stuff I want them to remember because we're going to be using it in the next lesson as well. All right, so let's go to the next part. Okay, so the next part is a game, and it's a very basic game, but it's something fun. You can bring up one student from each team, have them stand at the front facing the class, and then have one student read what's on the slide here, and the students need to say which nutrient it is. So this nutrient is good for our muscles and bones, and I like to do it like this because everyone sitting down can also think about it. Like the answer is not already there. It's not that the kids are the kids at the front are facing away and can't see, and the kids sitting down can see the answer, so they don't have to think. They just see, oh, I know the answer, and then they can actually give the answer to them, just like really easily cheat. In this situation, everyone's kind of playing. There's one student from each team at the front who are actually playing, actually earning points, but everyone's participating, thinking, and everything like that. So you can call on one student to that's sitting down to stand up and say and to read it. This nutrient is good for our muscles and bones. Or you can have a whole team read it. It might be harder to understand if that happens, though. So call on some students who, like I said, you can try it by team. You can have the whole class read it if you want. It's up to you. And the first student standing that can't see the board, that can't read it, that just has to listen, the first one to say the answer will get points for their team. Okay? Once that's finished, they sit down, call up more students, one student from each team, bring them up, or two students from each team if you have smaller teams, and rinse and repeat. Call on a student, or call on a group, or have the whole class read together. The students at the front who can't see, listen, and say what it is. Okay? And rinse and repeat. Okay? They just learn this material, so it'll be difficult for them maybe. They can come up with their notebook if you want. They can be holding their notebook in their hand. They can check their notes, so. And then the next part, it's please write 1 to 4 in your notebook. So you have them write this in their notebook, and then this is just kind of to calm them down after they just played this fun game. Maybe it got pretty loud. Now they just need to use these 6 words and use the 4. Choose the right answer. Okay, so this mineral is good for our teeth and bones. Which one is it? Which nutrient is it? And they should write it like, number 1 is whatever answer. After you give them like a few minutes to do this, call on volunteers to stand up and tell you what number 1 is and read it, okay? Read the whole thing. So they can't just stand up and say, calcium. They should say, calcium. This mineral is good for our teeth and bones. And call another student, carbohydrates. You can even do this as a game after. They can come up and write on the board if you want. You can be on the board like this and then come up to the blackboard and write number 1 is whatever and have them write on the board. It just takes more time. If you have a longer class, you can do that, but my class is primarily focused on speaking, so I want them to learn these words, learn the pronunciation, get it in their mind what they mean and everything, so we can actually speak, okay? So everything right now is just trying to get this information in their head so that they can do the next part, which is the dialogue, okay? Okay, so this is the dialogue practice. The way it works is you'll bring up 2 students from one of the teams to the front, or you can have them do it at their seats but just standing up. And one of the students will choose one of the nutrients and ask this question using one of the nutrients. So why is protein important for our bodies? Or why are minerals important for our bodies? So if they're using if it's a plural with an S, they should say are. If it's singular, protein, water, calcium, they should say is. Okay, you can also have them like reach their hand in like a bag and pull out one of the words in order to determine which nutrient they are going to ask about. Popsicle sticks, one with a color for each one. Somehow it's coded. There's already colors here, so you could use popsicle sticks if you have these colors, or you can change them. There's a bunch of ways you could get them to choose, or you can just have them choose whatever they want. So pretty much after they ask, you click on the board on the nutrient they said. It says click on the nutrient asked in the question to go to the next slide. So let's say they say, why are minerals important for our bodies? You need to click on minerals, which will take you to the next part of the dialogue for that nutrient, okay? So then the student who asked the question just now then asks the next question, okay? Why are minerals important for our bodies? And the other student needs to say, because minerals are good for our, and remember, what are these things? Muscles, bones, teeth, and brain, okay? They can bring up their notebook. They can use their notebook if they need it, okay? It's okay. They just learned this material 15 minutes ago. It might not be that fresh in their, they might not remember it yet, okay? So it's okay to check their notebook. Then you show the answer, okay? Just by clicking, the answer will appear. You can have the whole class read this together, okay? After they do it, good job. Click on the spinning wheel, and they can then spin the wheel and stop the wheel to get points. All right, 7 points, good job. Those 2 sit down, next 2 from next team come up. Again, rinse and repeat. They ask, or one asks, why are carbohydrates important for our bodies? Good job. Click on carbohydrates, takes them to the slide about carbohydrates. That student asks again, why are carbohydrates important for our bodies? Because carbohydrates provide our bodies with, and it should be energy so we can move, okay? In this game, it's more about just getting them to have this back and forth dialogue. One asks, one answers. You can have if they need help, other students can raise their hand to help them out, and then they spin the wheel, get points, put the points on the board, and then rinse and repeat. Also, you'll notice if there's a mistake, you can just click the home thing to go back to the original slide if you need to, okay? But basically that's it. It's just a quick dialogue practice using the information they learned earlier in the lesson. And it could be quite hard. I mean, if you teach this with grade 5, there'll be kids that'll be struggling a bit to remember some of these, but it's good practice. By the second week, when you do the second part and when you review this, they'll be mastering this. So it'll be great to see. Okay, so why is calcium important for our bodies? Because calcium is an important mineral that is good for our, these should help me. Yeah, good. Okay, you can see there's things here to prompt them, teeth and bones. Okay, and then spin the wheel and then get the points. Okay, oops, did that wrong, pushed the wrong button. So if you click too quickly, it'll jump to the next slide. You got to make sure, see my pointer here? If it looks like that, it might go to it'll jump actually to the next slide. But if you make sure it's in the right, like if it looks like that, you can actually click properly. Okay, so yeah, that's how that works. And then at the end of the class, let's go to the end here. There is the monkey game.
It's time for the monkey game.
Okay, the monkey game is fun. If you have extra time in your class, you can play the monkey game. You might not get to it. It depends on how much time you have. If you don't get to it, you can use it as the review in the next class, so to refresh their memories. Pretty basic though. If you've seen my classes before, bring up or have one student from each team. If you have 4 teams, stand up, or if you have 5 teams, perfect. There's 5 of them there. If there's only 2 teams, you can have 2 students from each team. And then they literally choose one of the nutrients. So let's say you assign, this is team strawberry, they choose protein. You can see that the color is the color around it. So green goes to green. Then there's the orange team, they choose minerals, but the banana team chooses vitamins, and the apple team chooses calcium. And then their team should ask them, why is protein important for our bodies? And they should say, protein is good for, and they should say what is good for. What did they learn? Okay, and carbs use provide. Okay, but most of them just use good for. Okay, and then after each student does the dialogue, gives the answer for each different nutrient, they fill in the blank. Then you can send the monkeys. The monkeys come, and if a monkey arrives, like for example on the orange, their team loses. They can't win. So let's see which one's the winner here. One more to go. All right, so in this case, apple and banana team can get points. You can give them 3 points or 4 points, whatever, okay? And rinse and repeat with the next ones, okay? We'll skip ahead. Okay, so at the end of the class, or for homework, you can have them write this. You know, it's good at the end of class to have them calm down, especially if there's like an extra 5 or 6, 7 minutes. You can have them sit there and write, okay? Or this can be homework. So why do we need protein? And they're just going to be literally writing because protein is good for our, and then they write what they learned in the class. So why do we need calcium? Again, it's exactly the language that they learned in the class, so it should be quite easy for them, okay? Or there's this option, what food is a good source of protein? What food is a good source of calcium? So this is kind of a preview for the next class. This is good. What's going to be in part 2, so you can just see what they know. It's just, the first part, this one is quite easy because it's just kind of like regurgitating what they already learned in the class. This one's like getting them thinking, like, do they know this? What food is a good source of minerals? Do they even know? Okay, that's going to be the focus of the next class. You can actually tell them, next class, I'm going to tell you where you can find protein, what food you can find protein. So do you know? And they'll be having like little debates and writing it down. They'll be raising their hands, and you can tell them, no, don't tell me. Write it down. You can tell me in a sentence. Okay, and that's the end of this lesson. I have a word list here just so you can see the words that were learned in the lesson, the extra words they should have written in their notebook. But yeah, that's the whole lesson. And yeah, let's go into part 2. Okay, this is part 2. And again, in the beginning of the lesson, you have the rules and everything to get them ready for class. And then we go straight into the review. Now, you could actually use the activity at the end of the first lesson as the main review game. You can use the monkey game, which is in the previous lesson, as the main review. You could do that. Depends how much time you have in class. This is, I think, the most efficient way to do it. So please write down 1 to 6 in your notebook and have them do this activity. So 4 of these were in the previous lesson, but I've rearranged the order, and then there's the other 2 as well. So now there's 6. Same exercise as before, the same way. Have them write down the answer, take a look at the definition, write down the answer. Then you can have students volunteer the answer, or they can come up and write the answer on the board. You can have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on the board. Call on a student who wants to do number 1. They come up and write the answer for number 1 on the board. You show it, okay? Number 2, or you can have them all 6 come up at the same time and write the answer, okay? It's up to you. Or if time is, going to be short, you can just have them raise their hand and say what it is. Walk around the class and check to make sure they're actually doing it. They wrote it down. You can have them, their deskmate check that they actually wrote it down. You can actually have them raise their hand and say, my deskmate didn't do it. And if once they understand that you're going to do that you're going to have their deskmate check and see if they finished, if they did it, if they even tried, they'll make sure they do it in the future classes, okay? You can review in a multitude of ways. It just depends on your style, and you don't want to review the same way every class. It'll get boring, so you can start with a writing activity or a dialogue activity. You can have them roll the die and play a game with the words. There's tons of different ways you could do it. And then we'll go into teaching. Okay, so in this lesson, as in the previous lesson, you show the thing in their first language, the word in their first language, see if they know it, have them write it down, and then read the definition, okay? Have them write down the definition if they need to. You can tell them that they're learning food groups, okay? So there are 5 different food groups, and we're going to go through them, and we're going to learn about them in this lesson. Okay, so first one, they should know it. Okay, if this is grade 5 and 6, this is easy, but we're connecting it now with the language from last week. So yes, they know fruit. Okay, shocking, they know the word fruit, but they might not know what it's a good source of. So even before you present it, you can actually say, what is fruit a good source of? What nutrients? And the nutrients are here, right? And they can raise their hand and tell you. They can write it in their notebook, okay? They can show their desk mate. It's a bunch of ways you could do this. Again, in my class, there's 40 minutes, 45 minutes, sometimes less if they have eye exercises and stuff. So time could be short. So here you can have students raise their hand to read or have the class read. So fruit is a good source of vitamins, minerals, and water. Some fruit is also a good source of carbohydrates. So you can actually have the kids write fruit and then put lines and then write, vitamins, minerals, water, carbohydrates. Okay, so they actually have it really well organized. In my class, some students are really good at this. They'll color code everything. They'll color code it the way I've color coded it. You have them like vitamins purple. I do it this way so they can see it very clearly. Minerals in a sky blue, and then water in a dark blue. They can see it all. It kind of jumps out at them, right? And some of the kids, they really take great notes, okay? And then show them some fruit. Now, they do not need to write these in their notebook. It's just that, they might want to see it. There's even the fruit durian here that some of them might not know. So they do not need to write these in their notebook. You can show it to them, and if they want to write one or two or whatever, that's fine. But it's very visual and nice. Okay, pop quiz. Which fruit does not have a lot of carbohydrates? So with a pop quiz, when you just show them it like this, you can call on one student from each team to stand up and then present the question, have them guess what they think, or you can poll the class. You don't have to call on one student from each team. You can just poll the class and say, which fruit does not have a lot of carbohydrates? And they need to raise their hand, who thinks it's apples, who thinks it's grapes, whatever. The answer is watermelon. Okay, watermelon is mostly water. Okay, and then on to the next one. Rinse and repeat. Again, very easy. They're going to know the word vegetables. No big deal. You can ask them, all right, what nutrients are vegetables a good source of? Sorry, I had a brain fart there. And they can raise their hand and tell you what they think, and then you can show them, okay? And they can write in their notebook, okay? You can do it for the first one, with fruit and stuff. You can actually show them how you want it written fruit, and then you can have them write lines and then write, vitamins, minerals, water, blah, 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 okay? Carbohydrates. And then with vegetables. And as I said in the previous part one, if you see students taking really good notes, you can use it as an example. You can ask them, can I show the class your notes? You can pick it up, show them, look how she's writing it. Look how he's writing it. This is very beautiful. This is a good example of how you should write notes, okay? And again, show them some vegetables and then go to the next one, okay? Some of these are harder. They're not going to know this one. My class, I don't think they're going to know this word, so you can show them. Grains, if anyone does know it, good job. And then, show them that what it's a good source of, have them take the notes, and move on. Here are some noodles. For this one, I have it so it pops up because I'm curious if they know, but it's not something you need to do. Okay, you can just show it really quickly. And with meat, same thing. What is meat a good source of? It's mostly going to be protein's the big one, then vitamins, minerals, and fats. Right in their notebook. Okay, and the meats, and then next one. They're not going to know this one. I think grade 5, grade 6 maybe, but it's a harder one. Dairy. This is hard for them to pronounce, and it's similar to diary. Diary's D-I-A-R-Y. So I make jokes about this in class. That people they confuse these. Okay, dairy and diary, and then same thing. They can write notes in their notebook about what it's a good source of. Okay, and then some dairy products. These are interesting for them because maybe not all of them have had butter. Depends where you live in the world. Not every place eats a lot of butter and cheese. So it'll be interesting. They can write that in their notebook if they're not familiar with it. Okay, and let's go on to the next part. Okay, so for the next part, you can have them say all of them again together, and then go into this part. So you can see all of the. That was weird. Let me make sure that works. Why did that happen? No. Okay. Okay, so again, here are the food groups again: fruit, meat, vegetables, grains, and dairy. And then we have this big thing here. A good way to do this, you can just have the kids raise their hand then and tell you to review, what nutrients each one of these food groups is a good source of. They already have in their notebooks. They just have to raise their hand and like kind of read it out of their notebook. They can see it here. So it should be like this. Okay. And just a quick recap. Make sure they have it all correctly in the notebook. This is the way it should look as far as which nutrients are found in each one, just to make sure they didn't take the notes wrong. Okay. They didn't write it down incorrectly. Okay. And then quick recap. So it's kind of like just a quick little thing. You can play this as a game if you want. One student from each team. Ask them, or have the class ask, which food group is a good source of carbohydrates, vitamins, and minerals, but not water? Okay, so they need to think, and then you can play this as a game if they get it right. They can come up to the board and write the correct answer. It's fun, You can just have them volunteer the answer if you like. Have them write the answer, have their desk mate check. A fun way to do it is to have them run to the board and write what they think it is. If you have enough space in the board, present the question, they run up, write it out the word. It's fun. Which food group is a very good source of protein and also vitamins, minerals, and fats? Okay, and here are the options. And then they can write on the board. It's up to you. There's tons of ways you could do this. It's just kind of a recap because there's a lot of information there. So you want to make sure. I'm just going to jump ahead. But you can see there's a few different ones here. All right, and then let's go to the next part. So this is the main part of the lesson, the dialogue practice. It's a speaking class. You got to talk. Okay, so call on two students from one of the teams, have them stand up at their seat or come to the front. One student asks the other student, which question do you want? And they say, I choose question number 2. Okay, and then here's the question. What nutrients are vegetables a good source of? And they have to look in their notebook. The clever ones will realize it's all color-coded. And also, I have the first letter here so they can see it to help them out. So they should say, vegetables are a good source of vitamins, minerals, water, and protein. Good job. Okay. And then it says choose a nutrient. Ooh. Okay. So that student who gave the answer then needs to choose one of these nutrients. Doesn't matter which one they choose. Let's say they choose minerals. Then it takes them to the dialogue from the previous class. They can practice it again. Okay. It all goes together. Part 1 and part 2. It's one big class, just too long for one class. So that first student asks, why are minerals important for our bodies? Student answers, because minerals are good. Because minerals are good for our muscles, bones, teeth, and brain. Yay! Good job. The class can say it again if you like. Get them to practice. Spinning wheel, just as the previous class. They love it. Spin the wheel. Write the points. Go back. Then the next team comes up. 2 students, and again. Now there's the things are repeated here, right? The food groups are repeated because there's 8 questions, so there's going to be some repeats here. It's okay. It doesn't matter. Okay, if they find the same one twice, it doesn't matter. They can even click the same one. It doesn't matter. So if the first team chooses question number 1, and the second team also wants to choose question number 1, I don't care. I mean, it's if you want, you can do it. That they can't choose it, but you're mostly getting them to practice. If they say the first answer 3 or 4 times, they're all going to remember that anyway. If 3 of them choose question number 1 and they keep getting meat, at least they'll remember that and move on. If they do it like 2 or 3 times and you think it's too much, I want them to go to another question, that's fine. Or maybe you don't want them to say the same question. It's up to you. For me, it's kind of like I kind of sometimes if you make something a rule they can't do, they're like if you show them you don't really care that much, it's like it's more relaxed. They'll probably want to try the other one. They don't know what it is, and they're like, I'm not going to get laughs or something by choosing the same one. Doesn't matter, because a lot of them, that's what they're trying to do, just show off to their friends, make everyone laugh. If you're kind of like, choose number 1, I don't care. Choose number 2, fine, It's up to your style, okay? And also the class. Some classes, I'll be a little bit more strict, but some classes, I'm not, okay? Because they're very good, and they want to explore the PowerPoint, and I'm not going to have to force them. So what nutrients is meat a good source of? It'll look like this, right? And the other student says the answer. Then you show it. Then say, choose a nutrient. They choose protein. Again, it takes them back to the dialogue from the previous lesson. They need to remember, check their notebook, say the answer, and then spin the wheel. So this is when it all comes full circle. They're doing the dialogue from this lesson, which is then combined with the dialogue from the previous lesson. And yeah, it's just this one big dialogue. What nutrients are grains a good source of? Then you remember these harder words: carbohydrates, vitamins, minerals. Then they decide I want to click on carbohydrates. Then it's a dialogue again. The student asks. It's just, it could be difficult for some of them, but I think you make it manageable by teaching it in the first lesson and then the second lesson review, and there's a lot of information, a lot of useful stuff here for them. Okay, and let's skip to the end. At the end, I have a quick writing practice. I have option 1 and option 2. So option 1 is, why is one of the food groups important for our body? And then here is the first one's, why is dairy important for our bodies? What nutrients is fruit a good source of? What are grains a good source of? So it's just what we learn in this lesson. And then this one, option 2, is, what kind of food do you love to eat? Is it healthy and good for you? Please write what nutrients can be found in that food, and if maybe there are better choices to eat instead that have more nutrition. So I guess them to think a little bit more. Higher level class could really benefit from this. You can tell them, you can tell the class, they can choose if they want to do option 1 or option 2. It's up to you. It's up to them, okay? If you think your kids are higher level, just go with option 2. You can delete option 1, not even show it to them. If you think they're lower level, delete option 1, delete the word option 1, and just present this to them as their homework or their end of the class writing activity. Okay, up to you. As I said before, this PowerPoint is totally editable, so it's up to you how you want to use it, how you want to adapt it, what you want to do with it. My main thing is I want it to be something which is going to get them to talk. Okay, I want them to talk. I don't want them to just learn a bunch of stuff but not be able to say it. Okay, yeah, I want to teach them knowledge in English, but I also want them to be able to say it. And that's the purpose here. Okay, it's interesting, it's colorful, and they get to speak and learn stuff, and yeah, they get confident talking is what I want. Okay, and yeah, that is the end of the lesson. That is the end of both lessons, I should say. All right, I really hope you guys enjoyed that. If you did, don't forget that you can buy these PowerPoints. You can buy them together. You can go to my Shopify store, which, again, you can build your own bundle there. You can get a huge discount by building your own bundle. And or you can go to my Taobao, as always. And yeah, there's links below directly to end of sale there if you want to use Sendal, which is another platform I use if you're using PayPal or credit card and you don't want to go to Shopify, you don't want to look through my store, which I think you should because I think it's much better. But if you just want to go straight to an end of sale, there's links below. Really convenient. It'll take you like a minute or something to buy the PowerPoint, or both PowerPoints if you want to get the bundle. So if you guys enjoyed this, don't forget to hit that like button. That really helps out this channel. Subscribe if you're not already. Leave a comment below if you have any questions, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.